Good morning. Today, Illinois wakes up to a new political reality, one that many thought might never come. The sun rises over Chicago, but the shadow of a political giant has finally lifted. For decades, Michael Madigan was the face of power in Illinois, serving as Speaker of the House longer than anyone in U.S. history. His influence was legendary, his political skills unmatched, and his name became synonymous with the very machinery of state government. Madigan's reach extended from the bustling streets of Chicago to the quiet corners of the smallest towns, shaping the state's politics for nearly 4 decades. He built alliances, brokered deals, and steered legislation that touched every Illinois resident, whether they realized it or not. His tenure saw him outlast governors, weather scandals, and maintain a grip on power that few could challenge. To many, he was the architect of modern Illinois politics, a master strategist who always seemed one step ahead. But now, on June 14, 2025, Madigan's story has taken a dramatic turn. The headlines are no longer about his victories, but about his downfall. Yesterday, the 83-year-old former speaker was sentenced to 7.5 years in federal prison, a stunning fall for a man once considered untouchable. The courtroom was tense, the verdict echoing through the halls of power he once commanded. This isn't just about one man. It's about a system that allowed corruption to thrive at the highest levels. Madigan's conviction shines a harsh light on the backroom deals, the unchecked influence, and the culture of secrecy that has haunted Illinois for generations. Madigan's sentencing marks a reckoning for Illinois, a state long plagued by political scandal. The Capitol, once a symbol of hope, now stands as a reminder of the urgent need for reform. For some, it's overdue justice. For others, a sad end to a legendary career. The reactions are mixed: relief, anger, even nostalgia for a time when Madigan's steady hand guided the state through crisis after crisis. But for everyone, it's a stark reminder of how corruption erodes democracy. Trust in government is fragile, and once broken, it's not easily restored. The cost is measured not just in headlines, but in the faith of everyday citizens. As we unpack this historic event, we'll explore who Madigan was, what he did, and what his downfall means for Illinois politics. We'll hear from those who worked with him, those who opposed him, and those who now must pick up the pieces. The road ahead will be tough, as the state works to rebuild trust shattered by this scandal. But with every ending comes a new beginning, and Illinois now faces a chance to write a different story, one built on transparency, accountability, and hope for the future. To grasp the impact of Madigan's conviction, you have to understand the power he wielded. For 36 years, he was more than speaker. He was the gatekeeper of Illinois politics. He decided which bills lived or died, controlled campaign funding, and built a political machine that rewarded loyalty and punished dissent. Crossing Madigan could end a political career. His supporters say he brought stability and got things done. Critics argue he stifled debate and fostered a culture of fear. This concentration of power was unprecedented, and it created fertile ground for corruption. Madigan's legacy is now under harsh scrutiny, raising the question, should anyone hold so much unchecked power for so long? His downfall forces Illinois to confront the dangers of political monopolies. The debate over his legacy is just beginning. What landed Madigan in prison? At its core, it was a pay-to-play scheme. Prosecutors showed Madigan used his position to pressure ComEd, the state's largest utility, to give no-show jobs and contracts to his allies. In return, Madigan pushed legislation worth hundreds of millions to ComEd. Over 8 years, about $1.3 million flowed to his friends and loyalists for little or no work. Secret recordings and testimony revealed a shadow network, with Madigan's confidant Mike McLean as the go-between. The jury found Madigan guilty on 10 counts, including racketeering and bribery, confirming suspicions that he leveraged public office for personal and political gain. The verdict dismantled a corrupt enterprise and exposed its inner workings. Madigan's legal battle was long, dramatic, and closely watched by the entire state. For decades, he was one of Illinois' most powerful political figures, but now he faced the fight of his life in a federal courtroom. The 2022 indictment sent shockwaves through Illinois politics. The trial, which began in late 2024, became a media spectacle and lasted 4 intense months, drawing daily coverage and public scrutiny. Prosecutors laid out a complex case presenting secret wiretaps, financial records, and testimony from insiders. They argued Madigan orchestrated a vast criminal enterprise, using his office to trade favors, secure jobs, and collect bribes. The defense countered that Madigan's actions were typical of any seasoned politician, helping constituents, making job recommendations, and building alliances. They insisted he never broke the law, but simply played the political game as it's always been played in Illinois. In a tense courtroom, Madigan addressed the judge and jury. He apologized for any pain caused by the proceedings, but stopped short of admitting to any specific wrongdoing, maintaining his innocence even as the evidence mounted. The jury deliberated for several days, sifting through mountains of evidence and hours of testimony. Ultimately, they convicted Madigan on the most serious charges, signaling a turning point in Illinois' political history. At sentencing, prosecutors argued for a harsh penalty, 12.5 years in prison, citing the scale of corruption and the need for accountability. Madigan's defense pleaded for leniency, pointing to his age, declining health, and decades of public service. Judge John Robert Blakey weighed both sides before handing down a sentence of 7.5 years in federal prison and a $2.5 million fine, a decision that balanced punishment with Madigan's long career. Madigan's lawyers immediately announced plans to appeal, arguing that the trial was unfair and that key evidence was misinterpreted. The legal fight, it seems, may not be over yet. The split verdict revealed that the jury took their responsibility seriously, weighing each charge with care. Still, the message from the courtroom was unmistakable. No one is above the law. With the conviction, the era of Madigan's unchecked power has come to a dramatic end, leaving Illinois politics forever changed. Judge Blakey didn't mince words at sentencing, calling Madigan's scheme a nauseating display of public corruption. He accused Madigan of perjury, saying the former speaker lied under oath, a shocking charge for a man who once led the state's lawmakers. The judge emphasized that this was a calculated, sustained abuse of power, not a momentary lapse. Madigan's actions, Blakey said, deeply damaged public trust and eroded the foundation of democracy. The sentence was meant not just as punishment, but as a warning. Corruption will not be tolerated. The judge's rebuke captured the disgust many Illinoisans felt. This was the official end of the Madigan era, defined by betrayal, not political mastery. Madigan's sentence triggered swift reactions from both parties. House Republican leader Tony McCombie called it justice served, but warned that the real work, restoring trust, was just beginning. Senate Republican leader John Curran demanded immediate ethics reforms, criticizing Democrats for inaction. Republicans see this as a chance to push for sweeping changes in Springfield. Some Democrats, eager to distance themselves from Madigan, are backing new ethics rules and transparency measures. The challenge: prove the problem was Madigan, not the party. For the first time in years, there's bipartisan agreement that reform is urgent. The debate now is over what those reforms should look like. Madigan's downfall hasn't ended political battles. It's ignited a new fight over Illinois' future. The pressure is on lawmakers to act and restore faith in government. In true Illinois fashion, former Governor Rod Blagojevich weighed in on Madigan's fate. Himself a convicted ex-governor, Blagojevich called Madigan's sentence a sad end, but also blamed him for creating the system that ensnared them both. He painted Madigan as the architect of a rigged game, suggesting his downfall was poetic justice. Blagojevich's comments highlight Illinois' long bipartisan history of corruption. 4 of the last 10 governors have gone to prison. His remarks remind us that Madigan's conviction is just the latest chapter in a cycle of scandal. The public is left wondering, is the system itself broken? The conversation now turns to whether this is a true break from the past or just another episode in a long saga. Madigan's conviction has sparked a renewed, urgent push for ethics reform in Illinois. Lawmakers, watchdogs, and citizens agree. Punishing one man isn't enough. The system must change. Key proposals include banning lawmakers from immediately becoming lobbyists, increasing transparency, and limiting the power of legislative leaders. Term limits for leadership and fairer committee rules are on the table. The goal: prevent another Madigan from rising. Rebuilding public trust is essential. Illinoisans have been let down too many times. The Madigan scandal is a glaring example of why reform can't wait. Strong ethics laws would show lawmakers are serious about change. The state's future depends on moving beyond its corrupt past. Now is the moment to act. Madigan's downfall is a warning for the entire nation. a stark reminder that no one, no matter how powerful, is above the law. His story isn't just about one man or one state. It's a mirror reflecting the vulnerabilities in our political systems across America. It's a case study in the dangers of unchecked power and the slow creep of corruption. When leaders operate in the shadows, making deals behind closed doors, democracy itself is at risk. The Madigan saga shows how influence can be quietly amassed over decades, often escaping public scrutiny until it's too late. What happened in Illinois could happen anywhere. Temptation exists in every state house, in every city council, in every corner of government. No state is immune to the lure of power or the risk of ethical lapses. The saga shows the importance of a free press, watchdogs, and strong institutions to hold leaders accountable. Investigative journalists, whistleblowers, and engaged citizens are essential to shining a light on wrongdoing and demanding answers. It also highlights the need for clear ethics laws and transparency. Without strong rules and real oversight, even well-intentioned officials can be tempted to cross the line, and the public's trust can quickly erode. The Madigan verdict is a call to action for lawmakers everywhere. Protect democracy, don't exploit it. Elected officials must remember that their duty is to serve the people, not themselves or special interests. Public office is a trust, not a personal piggy bank. Every decision made behind those doors affects real lives, and the consequences of corruption ripple far beyond any one office. For Illinois, this is a painful but necessary step toward restoring that trust. The road to reform is never easy, but it's essential for healing and moving forward. For the rest of the country, it's a cautionary tale. Never accept corruption as normal. Every community must stay vigilant, demanding honesty and integrity from those in power. The fight for clean government is ongoing, and the lessons from Illinois matter everywhere. Only by learning from these hard truths can we build a stronger, more accountable democracy for all.